Hi, I'm back. Okay, last time I reported, I had 8 envelopes completed. I can't pick them all up, but I had 8 envelopes completed. This time I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Now, just to recap, I'm doing the 100 envelope challenge, and I'm doing it for the month of January. Do I have to fill them all? No. Do I want to challenge myself to fill as many as I can? Yes. And then at the end, whatever I have, which I'll reveal at the end. I'm going to be very transparent. I'm working on paying off a $975 bill, and I'm being very cognizant about where I spend my money and really watching, where it goes. That's one of the most important things when it comes to our finances. Sometimes it feels like money is hard to make but easy to spend. But we all have necessities we have to do. We all like things that we like to have or whatever. But at the end of the day, we've got to have enough money to keep going. So I'm going to say that I'm going to start off with my little story about me. So I got my first property when I was 35. And that was the year in which I was taking on my first big responsibility by myself, okay? And I'm talking about a single person, no kids, not a single parent, anything like that. And there was some anxiety there about how I would make it on my own and all that. But I'm really proud to say that I was able to do a really good job with that and be responsible and learn a lot about what it was to own my own place, deal with all the things that come with owning a property and a house and all that, all the things that come up. It's not a situation where I lived in town where things could be different as far as city takes care of some things and regulation and things like that. So, now I did really good. Now, I had a little bit of a different situation. It was just different, not right, not wrong, just different. In that my parents, when I moved closer to my job. Well, my parents, being at my location where I moved to, would be closer to their job. Now, long story short, it cut my father's commute in half one way. So round trip, it, saved him a lot of time every day. And my mom and I happened to work in the same building at the time. So they decided, and I was completely fine with it, that they would stay with me as they worked and all that and go home when they wanted to, right? So that worked out good. Well, let's fast forward through time. And what happened during that time of us being closer to work and all that, and less wear and tear on vehicles, less wear and tear on our bodies, from the commute. The commute used to be an hour for mom and I, and like a good hour 20 to hour and a half or something for dad. And I mean round trip a day, okay? Which is a lot. You do that times 5 days a week, and there you go. You can do the math. And the gas and the such and so on. Well, during this time, after I moved, 3.5 years in, my mother passed away. No, wait. Let me think about that a second. 5 years in. I said it backwards. I was getting mom and dad's backwards. So 5 years in, at my property, mom passed away. So I'm not telling you this story to get sympathy. We all go through our lives in our own way. I mean, this is not a sympathy video, nothing like that. I'm just telling you my story. And it gets back to finances is the point behind it. And so Dad and I had to find a way to carry on, as any family would, right? We found a way to pivot, think different, operate different, just different, right? And 3.5 years, that's where I got the 3.5, after Mom passed away, Dad passed away. So that was the first time I was completely by myself, as far as, looking at the world a different way, and starting another new chapter, trying to build my life back up. Well, I managed to do that. I turned to focusing on things to keep myself busy. Socially, I started a business of my own, which is a whole nother story because it involved our family. I just pivoted to a different way because my parents were not involved in it at that point anymore. So I went all in and I started my business. And I guess one of the smart things I could say that choice is that I did it all cash, right? I didn't go in debt to do this, which, I don't recommend you go into starting your own business, especially a brick and mortar, any kind of overhead or employees or anything like that, not financially ready to do that. Yeah, some people, depending on the business, they go and charge, go charging, and I don't mean card charging, like charging like financially. I mean like full steam ahead, charge ahead, and work on 24/7, day and night, and all that. I would say it's been 3 years in, longer years planning, but 3 years in, that's a whole nother story, but 3 years in to running my own business, the biggest mistake I could ever have made, and I have made it, is working a full-time job for corporate America and trying to run a business on the side. Now, here's the good news. I still never went in debt. I wasn't going to borrow to sustain it. I wasn't going to, it was either going to pass or fail. And I wasn't going to sacrifice everything that I'd worked for to make it work. So I've always pivoted. So I still work for corporate America. I'm happy in my work. I make a good pay. And I've had to pivot that business. I still own the property. I still own the building. So I would say, I'm saying all this to say that sometimes the best decisions are not made, but they're not always mistakes, okay? Like I said, I went cash, never went in debt. I owe anything there. I still don't owe anything there, okay? I pay the utilities and the property taxes. So that's good news. I'd say, it's kind of vague right now. I guess my 2 acres that I bought before Mom and Dad passed away has been paid off 4 years now, I guess, that I had done a 30-year note at the time. I wound up paying it off in 12. So again, I know that's not a mistake, right? It's not a mistake. So it's not a mistake to buy that. It's not, it's not. However, how you choose to spend your money and what you choose to invest in, you got to really think about the impact that has on you long term. I bought the building long term, the way it's looking, long term. It probably won't make sense for me to keep it long term because, I mean, I've still got a handful of years to work before I retire, and that side hustle, side job, whatever, that I tried to work and build and all that, it just didn't pan out the way that I had it pictured. And I don't make enough to replace that full-time income, and then there, of course, there's benefits behind the full-time job, and like I said, I enjoy what I do. So you've got to pick what makes sense, right? So I don't have to drop the business. I mean, I don't have to give up and throw in the towel. I mean, I don't have to do that at this point, but there may be a point in which I need to utilize my asset to help myself personally, right? Like, you have to pick what makes the best sense. So getting into the financial part of it, it just didn't make sense to keep trying to do it the way I was doing it. So I pivoted. I do resale. I do it primarily online. I'm able to do it in my free time. So with all this going on and me being on my own at this point, I mean, completely on my own. When I talk about my parents being here with me most of the time because we're close to work and all that, let me clarify. It was not so they could help me financially in any means except one thing. When my mom first settled here with me, her and Dad, she flat told me, she says, well, you shouldn't have to pay for 3 people to eat at your house. You shouldn't have to do that. We choose to be here and be closer to work and all that. So let us buy groceries. That was the agreement. So I just want to be clear. This was not, it was, So with all that being said, I proved to myself that I could be financially stable, independent, and be able to have my own place. And like I said, I paid it off early. All that sounds good so far, right? Well, there's always crooks and turns and challenges and storms and upsides and downsides in life, right? Well, after Dad passed away, I ran into a hiccup on my property that I own. Not the business property, but the property I live on. I won't get into the whys. I won't get into the what it was or anything like that. But it was a situation where I had to leave. And it's one of those things that I found myself in survival mode. So I was blessed enough to know that I could go and stay at my parents' place that was further away and work to get back on my feet. Right? I knew I could do it. And I've done that. But in doing so, I had to get it set back up on my closer to work location. I say closer to work, I work from home now, but that's beside the point. Moving back to where I had to leave, that's what I'm getting at, was closer to the business I've been trying to run. That's the bottom line, right? I trying to run around and run a business, work full time, it's a recipe for disaster. So I was bound and determined to get back locally to run my business and basically work from home for my full-time job that's my livelihood. Again, you got to keep in mind, maybe I sound like a crazy person, but I have to keep myself busy. I'm not going to sit around and live the rest of my life sulking and depressed, and I've been there. I don't want to be there again, right? I don't, that's a choice I don't want to make. I don't want to make that choice. Not to be negative and depressed. that sort of thing. So what I'm saying is, in order to make all that happen, it cost me. So I put my head together and I thought long and hard, and I tossed and I thought and I gave ideas and I rethought it, and then I thought it again, and so on and so forth over a series of 14 months. And with the good Lord by my side, I figured out some things I could financially tackle that would get me back to where I need to be. And I'm not there yet. Where I'm talking to you right now is something that I purchased to rebuild something I could live in, and get back on my feet. In that process, I decided that I would work on another building and all that, but it's for a long dream goal that I've had as well with my parents and all that, so that was in the works as well. So I had to figure out the quickest way in my mind to get back to some kind of normal for myself. So you might be thinking, well, you said you stayed at your parents' place an hour away. Suck it up, Buttercup. What's the big deal there? I mean, I don't understand. Why didn't you just stay there and you don't have to go through this financial burden? What are you talking about? You're all over the place. Well, to give a little bit of context, Mom and Dad's house is older. It needs lots of work. And I couldn't afford to do all those repairs and invest all that and run a business and, right? So I've taken on quite a bit of debt in order to try to get back to normal. And I'm not there yet. I've taken a pause. I've done a lot of things by cash. The $975 bill I'm trying to pay off is something that I had to get supplies to, like, get some housing, appliances and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I'm working to pay that off, and then another part, the next part that we'll talk about in the future is me trying to strike out the electric work I had done. That's like the next thing. And then after that is paying for some of the labor that I got. It just costs more to hire folks to help you do things. I mean, more than you might have imagined or whatever, right? And so that's all it in a nutshell. So to say that I regret doing that I'm not going to say that I regret doing it. I wish I didn't have to do it, right? I cash flowed a lot of it, and then I ran out of money. That's just the bottom line. And so I had to turn to borrowing in order to keep moving forward until I made a decision that I was just going to pause, deal with what I have going right now, and get in a better situation. Like, you can't keep borrowing, and it's just not good, right? So I'm telling you all that because I've been through a payoff before. Like, sometimes life happens and you get soccer punched. And in that whole process, you have to figure out how to get through it again. Do I know I can? Absolutely. But I have to be patient. I have to know that I can. And I have to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And so with that, I've got to really watch where my money goes. So I'm going to be, like I said before, accountable to my YouTube audience as, how am I doing? What's next? What am I paying off next? There's plenty for me to pay. But I'm also going to say that there's going to be times where I'm going to probably pause paying something off, maybe, right? In some period of time to, like, pause and get an emergency fund. Pause. I mean, I won't be doing it in the order in which I should, or maybe, well, I know at first I haven't because I want to knock this out, but I just want to get back in the groove of what I know works. And you find money that you didn't know was there. And when I say that, it's like, you work every day. Sometimes people get so discouraged. They rob Peter to pay Paul, all that kind of stuff. But, we've got to make our money work hard for us, not against us, right? So we have to make sure that we're making the right decisions for where it's going, because after all, the bottom line is we decide where it goes, right? Like, nobody else decides for us where it goes. So we need to be responsible in that respect. So money is an opportunity cost. So, I mean, I don't really want to give examples, but I guess I could think of something silly like, I don't know, maybe maybe somebody's going to the movies like 8 times a month and they don't have a washer and or dryer at the house to wash their clothes, right? Like, the opportunity cost is going to the movies that much in a month could definitely buy your necessity. It's like it's backward. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with that? It's like there's an opportunity cost. So the decisions that you're making on your money, make sure it makes sense for what you have going, what your income inflow is, and all of those things. Make sure. I mean, you can't spend what you don't have. Like, that's what I mean. And so, anyway, enough of that story. Everybody has trials, challenges, all that. I just shared that a little bit to explain why I'm in the situation I'm in. You know, I owe way more money than I care to mention, which we'll get into that. That doesn't even matter, right? All that matters is that you make progress daily. Again, I'll explain my situation here. I've got a bill. We're gonna knock it out. I'm probably gonna put it up. I'm gonna be so proud of myself. I know I'm gonna make it, and I'll be so proud of myself. We'll put it on the wall, and then I'll tell you the next thing I'm gonna do, and that'll be tracked. And eventually, somewhere down the road, my progress is gonna be behind me. And when I mean behind me, I mean back there, looking at me from the rear view, going, look what all you've done back here. Like, back there. I don't want to harp on it. I just want to show the progress to keep my momentum going. So, with that being said, January's almost over. I'm going to reveal in about a week. It'll be after the first of the month. I mean, after the end of the month, not first of the month, but after the end of the month. In my resale shop, I make sales of my own, and so I should have some income from that, and that kind of stuff is going to go toward my savings challenge and to help me in that respect. And I'm also increasing the amount of time and energy that I'm putting behind closed doors in the research part of my business pivot. I'm having less time out trying to wait on people, customers waiting on coming into a brick and mortar shop and all that. It was just time wasted for too long, really. And so I want to do more research and get the higher priced items and things like that online. Kind of my sweet spot. And so I just want to focus my energy there, and I think that makes the best sense for my business and where I'm at today. So again, I want to keep sharing the good news and the progress, and if I have the hiccup, I don't mind sharing that as well, because we are all human and things happen, and that's why we shared this, though, to keep ourselves motivated. And I hope something I've said today motivates you. And one last thing I want you to do. I want you to do this because I want you to really know where you're at. I like to listen to Dave Ramsey. If you're not familiar with him, go check him out on all the socials. YouTube, he has his own, podcast show, business in Tennessee. But I'm going to tell you this. If you don't do anything else of his, go to Google and type in Ramsey, Ramsey, net worth calculator. Then what I want you to do is I want you to sit down, you and your partner, or like if you're like me, just you, whatever. And I want you to sit down and I want you to put in those fields what you have, what you owe, what your assets are. Basically, your assets minus your liabilities is your net worth. You may be pleasantly surprised or you may be totally freaked out not knowing where you're at. But that's going to be the baseline of how you want to grow. Meaning, are you sitting better than what you thought you were? Even though maybe you don't pay attention to your money. Maybe you track your money better than me and you know where you are. Maybe you already know about Ramsey Net Worth Calculator. I don't know. But I was surprised when I started, but I'm pleasantly surprised now that I'm on track, right? I owe a lot of debt, and that's important to me to get out of my way. I do not like debt. I do not like debt. Debt is not our friend. Okay? So I want to get out of that so that when I get to my retirement age, which is getting closer and closer and closer because I ain't getting no younger. So I don't want that hanging over my head and affecting my independence. So I'm going to do all I can and sometimes give up stuff that might not be all that appealing, but you do what you got to do in order to make it in this world comfortably, at peace, for your own sanity, right? So go check out Ramsey Net Worth Calculator and see where you stand. See where you stand today with your assets minus your liabilities. You might be surprised. All right. Till after January, I'll check in. I'll go over the numbers that I have. Then whatever that number is going to be is going on that bill. Stay motivated. Talk to you next time.